friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. Well, I tend to get this question quite a bit every year, all the time. Where do you buy your herbs? Where do you buy your seeds? And I thought I would approach both of these in the same video and just do an update. So I do an update like this every so often because sometimes things change. So in the early years of my channel, by that point, I had discovered Baker Creek seed and on my own. I hadn't heard of them from anyone else. I was just looking for a good place where I could find, in the United States, organic, non-GMO seeds so I could really get my medicinal herb garden going and my vegetable gardens going. And I stuck with them for quite a few years up until 2020 when I couldn't get the seeds I was looking for anymore. Typically on Baker Creek, you can find all kinds of seed. It's where I found my marshmallow seed, feverfew seed, so many of my medicinal herb seeds, and a lot of my other vegetables as well. But in 2020, when it just, you couldn't get any seed. I think it was because everybody was freaking out thinking, oh, we better start gardening. And a whole bunch of people were just buying up seeds right and left. And so they were constantly out of stock. And so I just gave up trying and started looking in other places. And one of those places was Etsy. And the thing I like about Etsy, even though I stopped selling on Etsy because I got really tired of the consistently raising of fees and finding more ways to get money out of you and forcing you to pay for ads that you never wanted. So that was, I just had it. But that doesn't mean I don't mind now and then supporting other small businesses, especially those within the United States. And to me, Etsy can be a good place to find seed, especially since when you're in there, you can at least see the location of the person. And you can kind of look and see, are they growing these themselves? And the location can really matter because you want to look for, if that person's growing that seed themselves, what kind of climate do they live in? And it will help you figure out if those seeds might be more viable to you than seeds that come from somewhere else. For example, a lot of seed I would get from places in the deep south, those don't ever do well for me, never. But if I can find seed from people who live in cooler climates, especially climates that get a lot of rain like we do, I have a better chance of getting good starts and then plants from those kind of seed. And any seed I can get very locally from my own very, 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 very rainy, wet town, my chances increase incredibly that I can get some good plants from them. So it might not just be looking in one place, it might be looking in several places, especially looking to see if anyone locally is selling seeds or starts even. Because if you at least have some good, healthy starts, farmers markets and stuff, there's usually people selling starts. There's a lady in our town that sells starts from the plants that she grows. But now, a lot of times, now that Azure Standard has started selling organic seed, I go there first all the time. And there's hardly any seed I need these days because I'm either saving seeds from my own plants. Typically, the ones I'm more likely to purchase again and again would be something like pie pumpkin, cucumber, and certain other types of squash, just because sometimes zucchini even, sometimes the cross-pollination of some of these different plants, no matter how far I grow them apart, can cause issues. And so I try to be careful what I'm growing each year and not growing cucumbers and pumpkin at the same time, since they can cross-pollinate and create a really weird plant and with unusable fruit. And so I might switch it up every year or just buy new seed every year so that I can start with fresh seed that hasn't been cross-pollinated. So anyway, Azure Standard is getting into selling more and more organic seed, and I highly recommend that. I'm getting all kinds of great stuff from Azure Standard. My referral link is always in the description box. And especially if you live in a place like us that now has a drop point, that can save you a lot of money in shipping. Even if you have to pay a percentage of the shipping when you go to pick it up, we don't because of where we're located, but other places have to pay a percentage of the shipping, but it ends up because it costs money to ship stuff. Some people kind of forget it costs money to ship things. And so that can still save you a lot than having to have things directly shipped to you from Azure Standard via UPS or USPS, which I used to have to do, but still found it worth it because the price per pound ended up, once even after adding shipping, still ended up being equal to or less than organic, non-GMO places that offered quote unquote free shipping, when really what's happening is they're just including it in the overall cost. So that's something people tend to forget. So then when it comes to buying the herbs and spices, same thing. I always start with Azure first because they're getting, again, more and more of these different types of herbs, both culinary and medicinal. And remember, culinary herbs are also medicinal, but then you have ones that are just medicinal. So that's the difference there. But I always start with Azure Standard. If I can't find what I need there, then I will go to Frontier Co-op on Amazon. I'll be linking to their storefront. And though you can buy the Frontier organic herbs if you have health food stores around you, a lot of people can find them in there. I buy on Amazon because we don't have stuff like that here in our small remote town. And they always sell everything in a 1 pound bag. They might sell some in smaller sizes, but I always go for the 1 pound if it's something I really need, because that's going to be the most cost effective way. You're paying less per ounce when you do it that way by buying in bulk, especially if it's something you're going to use a lot. And then the other place is Anthony's Goods. Not everything they sell is organic. Well, not everything that Frontier sells is organic, though most of it is. But with Anthony's, it can be, maybe 50-50. But they have all kinds of goods. They have like dried dairy powders and flours, but they also have a lot of herbs and spices that are organic for an excellent price. And all these companies are here in the United States. That doesn't mean they still don't get herbs from other countries, because there are simply herbs that just don't grow well in the United States, and they're going to get a much better price doing it that way. For seeds, Azure Standard, Etsy, and Baker Creek can be good places, even though I haven't bought from Baker Creek since 2020. And then for the herbs, the Azure, the Frontier, and the Anthony's. And then, of course, when it comes to all that, that's just stuff that I'm not already growing myself, either because I haven't tried yet, or I've tried and it simply doesn't grow here, or I just know it's not going to do well here because of the kind of climate that we live in. So I grow as much as I can. Then I expand my garden and my apothecary either by buying seeds from these other places or the dried herb itself. Now, last thing I want to say is I also sell seeds. So it's not like I don't have as much to offer as maybe some of these other places, but I do sell quite a few different herb seeds, such as feverfew, marshmallow, lovage seed now, and another new one that I started selling this last year, arnica. Now that I finally got arnica to grow well for me a couple years ago, I'm able to start selling the seed from that as well. So an arnica is one of the more expensive ones I've ever had to buy. And so that was why it was important for me to grow my own. And if you're interested in seeing the seeds that I sell and any of the other products, just send me a request for a product list to raincountryhomestead@gmail.com, and I will shoot that out to you. But to answer another common question, when it comes to the herbs themselves that I grow and dehydrate, no, I do not sell those. I get far too many requests that even my most prolific herbs that I would put up, I would be sold out and not have any for ourselves. And those are really important for our own sake. And I just can't afford to sell those, and I certainly wouldn't be able to afford to sell them at the price these other places are selling them, because I'm small scale. I have to harvest and dry these things myself, package them up. And so the price I would have to charge per pound plus the added shipping is going to probably cost you a lot more going through me. So look into these other places I've recommended. And if anybody else has some other suggestions of places they like to buy either their herbs or their seeds, please put those in comments down below. And again, I would appreciate if people are looking for medicinal herbs, just request my product list. You can at least look through there and see if there's anything you have of use. And then you can go look at these other places. But just keep in mind, my climate, very wet. We live close to a rainforest. Though so far, most people do pretty good with my seeds. I know people even in Florida and other places that are very different climate that have had a high success rate with my seeds. So that's really cool to know. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, found it helpful. Thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.